Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex2K, and we're continuing the tutorial for the head modeling, and we're talking about the eye part. Again, it's the basic structure. It's nothing fancy, nothing complex. We're just getting the basic shape out. So process is the same as before. We're going to start by creating a poly around the shape of the eye. We're just getting the main areas, corners at top and bottom, and once we get them we just press enter, and then we select the edges and we extrude them out like so. Once we get that, we select the face for the inside and we just delete it like that. And let's go ahead and assign our modeling shaders so that we can see what's going on behind it. So once we get this, we're just going to set up the main areas. Just make sure that they're nice, like that, there, and here, and a little bit down there, and a little bit down there. Now, once we have that, again, we're keeping it as low poly as possible. So once we get this, let's go here to the side view and we just look for the top. And remember, he's looking down, so it's not probably going to be pretty accurate. And here in the bottom eyelid, and then the corner of the eye, and the inside of the eye, which is going to be a little hard to see, so you're just going to have to guess where it is. Top of the eyebrow, outside corner of the eye, bottom part where the cheekbone more or less is, and one more over here, which is where the nose is. So this is just a basic form here. That doesn't mean it's accurate or anything like that. We're just getting the main form again, just out there. Now the only way that we'll be able to get this a little bit more accurate is to make an eyeball, and the best way to do that is to go ahead and make a polygon sphere, and again assign our modeling shader to this. And if we give it 8 by 8 divisions, somewhere between 8 and 10 divisions, you'll see that when you rotate this 90 degrees on the X, this main area will define the shape of the iris and therefore help you define the overall size of the eyeball itself. So it's a pretty handy method to get a semi-accurate representation of an eyeball, of the size of the eyeball. Again, it's somewhere between 8 and 10. Each eyeball is different, so you don't want to make it too big, but you don't want to make it too little. If I give it 10, it's going to be bigger, and if I give it 9, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So again, it's just a matter of trying to figure out more or less what it is. It is really not that big past the corner of the eye. So if this is getting like way too far out, it's a good idea to make it have a little bit less than that. So let's try 8. I would say right there. Okay. So the reason why this helps, now let's line this up here on the side view, is because it helps you to get the correct curvature of the eye. Now remember, he's looking down, so it's not so easy to guess or to have an accurate estimate of its location. But let's just live with that, and once we do that, then this helps us to let us know how far off we are either with the eyeball or with the actual eye itself. Now when you're doing this, the main thing you want to keep in mind is not to go inside of the actual eyeball, just rest outside of it, because eventually this will go in. So as long as these vertices are outside, you should be fine. Keep in mind that the inside part is going to be a little bit further out because you got the tear duct. So that's a big area of the eye that's going to go in. So that's just something to keep in mind there. So once we get that main shape there, we can go ahead and look for this and see if this is like way out or not. I'm gonna hide this for a second. Let's see, this is like where that dark area is, and that dark area would be about there. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Control Shift H. So now we got this, we got that, and it doesn't matter if this is penetrating as long as the vertices themselves are not penetrating. So once we get this basic form out, then we can begin to add and remove a couple of edges. So we're going to start by adding. I'm just going to add one there, one here, one there, and select this one and delete edge. So by deleting edge, I'm keeping that thing that I talked about, that you don't want to keep it in the corners. You want to keep it square. That way it radiates outwards a lot better. And you know, the change of shape is not going to be so massive because you already got the overall lined up there. Okay, so we got that, we got this. We might want to adjust this a little bit more there, and we can give it a couple of extra edge loops now, just to begin to round this off and give it a more accurate shape. So let's go ahead and do that there. So we're just trying to follow his form of his eye. Let's keep this one here, and let's add a couple, another edge loop there, just to give it a little bit more form, and give this more round shape. And let's add another one out there. So we got something like this. Now it's a matter of depicting if this is conforming to his shape, to his form, to his skull, and his overall shape. We might want to shrink this a little bit more, like so. It's not so steep, so it's probably not so together. This here seems to be a little bit more steep, so we might want to change the shape a little bit there. Then it gets relatively soft. The more spread apart they are, the softer it's going to be. The more close together they are, the more sharp that turn is going to be. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, let's see. Okay, the rest is just pushing and pulling CVs. There we go. We got his overall shape for the eye socket there. We just, we have to see where that point is and where that point represents on the side view. So this might want to get a little bit deeper. Let's push this one a little bit more like that, and like so. I'm trying to round this off a little bit more, just get a softer shape. Okay. So probably this will be changing as we're going, but I'm going to keep it like that for now. There we go. Now that we got this, let's look at it solid. Let's harden the edges so it gives us an idea of what we're getting. It looks okay. There is some penetration there, so we might want to adjust this. And if you see, one of the main things I'm trying to keep here is things or different edges should be as even as possible. That's something that eventually will make a lot of sense. Right now it doesn't make too much sense, but if you keep things proportionate, or the distances as equidistant as possible, then it ends up giving you a lot of good things in the end. So let's just try and keep all these distances pretty much the same distance from the eyeball itself. And we might want to begin to get pushing in here. This pushes back out, and this pushes inwards. So I might want to push it in a little bit more there, and a little bit more in there. Okay, so we're just looking at the form, and I think that should be okay for now. Push this a little bit more forward. And then we can select the inner edge loop of the eye socket and simply extrude that inwards, which eventually will serve the purpose of that curvature that we need for the actual eye. We can actually bring these guys in there like that, and add maybe an extra edge loop there. So that we can give it a nicer shape. And there we go. So that's pretty basic. We could go ahead and add an extra edge loop if we wanted to help define a little bit more of that eyelid. Make this transparent. So just lining it up with the curvature of the eyelid right there, and then get soft, like so. So these guys will eventually be pushing in. Right now they're not really, but eventually they will. If we do that at this stage, we might be getting too high too early, and it's not always a good idea. We're just having it there to define that something will happen eventually there. And that pretty much takes care of getting this. The rest will be eventually taking that shape out a little bit further. Well, we might as well do one. Let's select the outer edge loop and just extrude, and you'll see that if you scale it out, it's going to give you that shape. So you can keep extruding this out a little bit like this, and then you just have to give it the form that you need to give it depending on the person's mesh and how its flow goes. Now there's a little bit of adjustment I need to do here so that it doesn't zigzag so much, or if it zigzags, that is not such a intense zigzagging. And we do want to make things radiate outwards always from the shape. So let's try and conform to that. So there we go. That gives us a pretty much basic overview of his shape. let's actually take this one out there, and let's take this one out there too. Well, as you can see, this is going to go pretty back like so, and therefore we need to adjust the rest to fit within those guidelines. Now let's come here to the perspective and see how our eye is turning out. Let's make this solid again, and yeah, it looks like an eye. So that's pretty much that part. Then the next stage we'll be talking about is the eyeball. So stick around. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.